Chang Daolei hoisted the massive ghost-face axe, but as soon as he tried to swing it, the sheer weight pulled him to the ground with a loud thud. Groaning, he muttered, "This thing could take down an army, if I could actually lift it." He begrudgingly admitted that for now, the axe was more effective as a terrifying prop than a functional weapon. "Guess I'll just use it to scare people until I bulk up," he sighed. Later in the Toad Village, Lu Zhihong approached him with her usual bright demeanor, asking if he was hungry or if she could cook something for him. Chang Daolei shook his head. "Not hungry, but what about those exercises I taught you?" Lu Zhihong nodded enthusiastically. "I've been practicing a lot." "Good," Chang Daolei replied, motioning for her to demonstrate. She grabbed her coat, twirled around, and proudly asked, "How am I doing?" Chang Daolei smirked. "It's not just about looking graceful. It's for your health. Don't slack off. And remember, there are people out there working twice as hard for half as much." He then added with a knowing grin, "Also, eat well. Development's important at your age." Blushing, Lu Zhihong promised, "I'll do my best." Just then, the door swung open, and Zhao Dai entered. Her sharp eyes immediately landed on the two futons spread on the bed. "What's going on here?" she asked suspiciously. Chang Daolei recognized her instantly and raised an eyebrow. "Zhao Dai? Why are you here?" Zhao Dai's gaze darted between him and Lu Zhihong, her expression growing more incredulous by the second. Lu Zhihong poured her tea, trying to ease the tension. Ignoring the tea, Zhao Dai informed Chang Daolei, "Su Ying has been thinking about you." Chang Daolei perked up, grinning smugly. "She misses me? That's sweet. How is she?" Zhao Dai's mood darkened. "She's in a tough spot. You should see it for yourself." She handed him a paper, her expression heavy with worry. Chang Daolei nodded and assured her, "I'll send someone to Luo City to check on her." But Zhao Dai's patience snapped. "You think she's just another pretty face? She'd never stoop so low as to join a bandit like you. And don't forget, you've got a bounty on your head after what you did to the Huang family. You can't even set foot in the city." Chang Daolei sighed, only for the system to interrupt with a cheerful announcement. "The third stage of the Young Miss mission has been activated. Help Su Ying run her restaurant and make it the wealthiest in Luo City." Turning to Lu Zhihong, Chang Daolei instructed her to summon Huang Sanyuan, Lao Jia, and Lao Yi. While she rushed off, Zhao Dai eyed him warily. "What are you planning?" Chang Daolei smirked and leaned in closer. Zhao Dai recoiled, her imagination running wild. She assumed he was about to make some nefarious move. Instead, Chang Daolei handed her a bag of silver and whispered, "Go buy yourself some nice clothes, and don't tell Su Ying about all this." Relieved yet flustered, Zhao Dai accepted the silver. Moments later, Huang Sanyuan and the others arrived. Chang Daolei asked Huang about the village's cash reserves. "We've got 122 taels of silver," Huang Sanyuan reported. "Take 100 taels and give them to Zhao Dai," Chang Daolei instructed. "Also, let her pick out some silk and satin from the warehouse for Su Ying." Zhao Dai was overwhelmed. "That's too much. Just take it," Chang Daolei said firmly. Once Zhao Dai left, Chang Daolei turned to Lao Jia and Lao Yi. "Do either of you have a bounty on your heads?" Lao Jia shook his head. "Haven't had the chance to commit crimes yet." Lao Yi grinned. "But don't worry, boss. Give us an opening, and we'll make a name for ourselves." Chang Daolei groaned. "Are you two even right in the head?" Then he added, "I'm assigning you both to protect someone in Luo City, my future wife." The brothers immediately puffed up with pride. "We won't let anyone harm your future wife." "And what will you do if someone tries to bully her?" Chang Daolei asked. Lao Jia smirked. "We'll bleed them dry." "Bleeding's not enough," Chang Daolei grumbled. "Make them regret being born." Later, Chang Daolei began writing down his business strategies from his previous life to help Su Ying improve her restaurant. Since his handwriting was terrible, he dictated everything to Lu Zhihong. Once the letter and gifts were ready, he personally escorted Zhao Dai to the outskirts of Luo City. In Luo City, Su Ying was struggling. She stared at her ledgers, frustrated by the competition from Sihelu Restaurant, which constantly undermined her business. The owner, Lai Dadu, had made it his mission to drive her out of the city, spreading malicious rumors and encouraging troublemakers to disrupt her work. One day, a group of rowdy men barged into her restaurant, demanding she sell it to them. I've already told you, Suing said firmly. This restaurant is not for sale. One man sneered. Don't be stubborn. This is a man's world. You can't handle this alone. Get out, Suing snapped. We're closing. But the man leaned back arrogantly. We're customers and we're staying. Pour us some wine. Unable to refuse, Suing instructed her servant to pour the wine. When the servant timidly obeyed, one of the men slammed his cup onto the table. What's this? He barked. I want the owner to pour me wine, not some lowly servant. The other men snickered and leered at Suing. I hear she hides her face behind a veil. Let's see if the rumors are true. Before they could act, Lao Jia and Lao Yi stormed in. Without a word, Lao Jia grabbed a jar and smashed it over one man's head, sending him sprawling to the floor. The other two men froze in terror as Lao Yi cracked his knuckles menacingly. Who's next? He growled. Lao Jie and Lao Yi approached the unruly man swiftly, knives glinting in their hands. Before the man could react, they grabbed him and his companions and threw them out of Su Ying's restaurant with practiced ease. If you ever dare come back, Lao Jie growled, his tone laced with menace. I'll make sure you leave without your arms and legs next time, Lao Yi added with a sharp glare. Get lost. Inside, Suing looked visibly shaken by the commotion. Lao Jie turned to her, bowing slightly. Apologies, Miss Su. We should have been here sooner. At that moment, Zhao Dai burst in, her eyes scanning Suing worriedly. Are you all right? She asked breathlessly. Suing composed herself. Why did you bring them? She inquired, gesturing toward Lao Jie and Lao Yi. They're the people Chang Daolei sent, Zhao Dai explained. He also gave me 100 taels of silver and some goods for you. Lao Jie chimed in. Big boss told us to protect you, Miss Su. Whatever you need, just say the word. Suing sighed and said, We can't talk here. Move the goods inside first, and we'll discuss it after. Turning to Zhao Dai, Suing asked, Were there any problems on the way? Zhao Dai shook her head. Not much. A few bandits showed up, but as soon as I mentioned I was seeking help from the Toad Village, they ran off. Suing exhaled in relief. Good. Zhao Dai handed Suing a letter. Big boss wrote this for you, she said. Su Ying's eyes narrowed as she inspected the letter. This is a woman's handwriting. Zhao Dai smirked. Your intuition is sharp, Miss Su. As Suing read the letter, Zhao Dai recounted her observations from the Toad Village. I don't know everything that happened, she admitted, but I saw 2 futons in the room. It's not a big deal even if Lu Zhihong stays there, but Cheng Daolei getting so close to you might cause some trouble down the line. Suing sighed. I don't know if I can trust him, she murmured, her voice tinged with doubt. After finishing the letter, Suing remarked, With this silver, we can renovate the restaurant. And these chilies he sent, they're quite popular. She paused. But what's this hooty fish he mentioned? Back in the Toad Village, Lin Xiaoyu was overseeing the Lu family's training. The routine was monotonous. Running, punching, and running again, all while shouting nonsensical phrases. Despite the simplicity, after 7 days, the Lu family's demeanor had improved noticeably. They were more disciplined and well-mannered. Meanwhile, Cheng Daolei summoned Sun Ju, the village's cook. Have you ever heard of bread? Cheng Daolei asked. Sun Ju scratched his head. No, boss. What's that? Cheng Daolei explained. It's like a square or round thing made by fermenting flour, adding salt, and baking it. He sketched a rough drawing of bread, which Sun Ju mistook for cake. It's not cake, Cheng Daolei corrected, exasperated. It's softer and bigger. Sun Ju guessed. Steamed cake. Then, no, Cheng Daolei snapped. It's baked, not steamed. We need an oven. Intrigued but baffled, Sun Ju listened as Cheng Daolei detailed the process of making bread. Soon, they moved to the kitchen to experiment. The first attempts were disastrous burnt crusts and undercooked centers, but after several tries, they finally produced a proper loaf. Cheng Daolei handed Lu Zhihong a slice topped with honey. She took a bite and lit up. This is amazing, she exclaimed. The rest of the village soon joined in, sampling bread for the first time. The children were especially delighted, devouring slice after slice. In Luo City, Suing was dealing with challenges of her own. She asked her shop manager about hiring new staff. It's not about the money anymore, the shop manager admitted. No one wants to work here, Miss Su, and my mother's health is failing. I don't think I can continue working for you. Are you leaving? Su-ing asked, her tone heavy. The shop manager nodded regretfully. I'm sorry, Miss Su. You've been kind, but I must go. Su-ing sighed. Very well. Collect your salary from my office before you leave. As the manager left, Lai Dadu, the owner of Sahelu restaurant, watched smugly from his window. He reveled in Su Ying's struggles, confident that he would soon drive her out of business. Zhao Dai approached Su Ying. Should I go to the market to find new workers? She asked. Su Ying shook her head. No one will come. What should we do then? Zhao Dai pressed. Before Su Ying could answer, Sun Ju entered the restaurant with a companion. Are you Miss Su Ying? Yes, Su Ying replied cautiously. Who are you? Sun Ju grinned and gestured to his companion. We're here on behalf of Big Boss Chung Daolei. He sent us to help you. Su Ying's cheeks flushed. Please don't call me sister-in-law. It's embarrassing. Sun Ju laughed. Don't worry, Miss Su. If you need anything, just say the word. Mortified, Su Ying covered her face, hiding her growing smile. At the Sihelu restaurant, Lei Du paced nervously, glancing out the window at the bustling crowd gathered at Su Ying's newly renovated establishment. His fists clenched as he muttered to himself. Where did she get the money to reopen like this? She must have used some underhanded method to fleece a rich benefactor. Humph, it doesn't matter, her success won't affect my business. Turning to his waiter, he ordered, Go ask the restaurants across the street if we can borrow some chairs. We're overflowing with customers. The waiter hesitated. But I doubt they'll agree to lend us anything. Lei Du smirked smugly. That's irrelevant. It's not like they need their chairs, they don't have any customers to fill them. Just as he finished speaking, he spotted a familiar face entering. Ah, Honorable Zhang, he exclaimed, putting on his most welcoming smile. I've been waiting for you since this morning. Please, come in. Zhang waved dismissively and said, I need a private room. My friends are here from different cities, and I want to treat them to your best dishes. One of Zhang's companions added, I've heard that your dishes are unique. Let's see if the rumors are true. Lei Du beamed. Of course, I've prepared a room upstairs just for you. And let me tell you, our signature chili dishes are the pride of Luo City. Only the freshest ingredients here. At that moment, a servant rushed in, looking flustered. Sir, there's a problem, he whispered urgently. Lei Dadu's smile faltered. What now? The servant leaned closer. We're out of chilies. Lei Dadu's eyes widened in disbelief. What do you mean, out of chilies? The servant stammered. Our customers. They come here for the chili dishes. We're completely out of stock. Lei Du cursed under his breath, his mind racing. This has to be Su Ying's doing. That arrogant woman must have cornered the market. Forcing a polite smile, he turned to Honorable Zhang. It seems we've run into a small problem. We're temporarily out of chili. Would you like to change your order? Zhang frowned. Out of chili? But isn't that your specialty? I don't mind paying extra if it's expensive, just bring it out. Lei Du shook his head. It's not about the price, sir. I'm afraid we've genuinely run out. Zhang's frown deepened. How could that be? Your restaurant is supposed to be the best in the city. And yet, he sniffed the air suddenly, his expression shifting. Wait, is that chili I smell? Confused, Lei Du sniffed as well and realized he smelled it too, but it wasn't coming from his restaurant. Zhang stood abruptly. Let's go check out Su Ying's place. That smell has to be coming from there. Panicking, Lei Du tried to stop him. Wait, Mr. Zhang. How about our signature vinegar-flavored fish? It's just as good, I promise. But Zhang and his companions had already made up their minds, marching towards Su Ying's restaurant. At Su Ying's establishment, the scene was lively. Zhao Dai noticed Lei Du watching from a distance and couldn't resist walking over. Mr. Lei Du, she said sweetly, we're a bit short on chairs. Could we borrow some from your restaurant? Lei Du's face turned red with fury. Absolutely not. Don't even think about it. Zhao Dai smirked. No need to shout, sir. If you don't want to lend them, just say so. Though, it doesn't seem like you have many customers who'd miss them anyway. Caught off guard, Lei Du sputtered, unable to respond. Back in the Toad Village, Chang Daolei chatted with Liao Jia. How's the situation in Luo City? Does Su Ying, ever mention me? Liao Jia handed him a letter. She wrote this and told me to deliver it personally. Curious, Chang Daolei passed the letter to Lu Zhihong. Read it for me, he instructed. The letter was short, just a few lines. In it, Su Ying expressed gratitude for the recipes and goods Chang Daolei had sent. She wished him a happy life with Lu Zhihong and hoped their relationship would last 100 years. She even mentioned she'd like to meet Lu Zhihong one day to congratulate her personally. Chang Daolei frowned, feeling the sharp undertones in her words. Killing intent, he muttered. Why are women so complicated? Grabbing a pen, he began to draft a reply himself, brushing off Lu Zhihong's offer to write it for him. Once the letter was done, he attached it to a messenger pigeon and sent it off. In Luo City, the pigeon arrived at Su Ying's window. She carefully retrieved the letter and opened it, her curiosity piqued. Her expression shifted from confusion to frustration. The letter contained only 3 words. What is he doing? Su Ying exclaimed. Does he think this is a joke? Another pigeon arrived shortly after, bearing a single question. Have you taken a shower? Flustered, Su Ying handed the letter to Zhao Dai, who couldn't help but laugh. Maybe we should invest in our own pigeons to send a proper reply, Zhao Dai suggested. Meanwhile, outside Su Ying's restaurant, a crowd buzzed with excitement. What's going on here? Someone asked. Haven't you heard? Hai Dai Lao reopened yesterday. If you don't get here early, there won't be any seats left. Inside, the staff bustled around, serving steaming hot pots to eager customers. Sun Ju, ever the perfectionist, reminded them, be careful with those pots, they're hot. Take your time. Zhao Dai, rushing to keep up, tripped and nearly spilled a tray. Sun Ju shook his head. I just said to be careful. Across the street, Lei Du watched with mounting frustration. His sister, standing beside him, murmured, It's unbelievable. That rundown restaurant was abandoned for years, and now it's stealing all our customers. Lei Dadu's jaw tightened. This isn't over. Lei Dadu's little sister paced angrily in the private dining area of the Sahilu restaurant, her voice dripping with frustration. How is it that Su Ying's rundown restaurant suddenly became a goldmine the moment she took over? It's like she's the reincarnation of Tao Zhugong. Lei Du shook his head bitterly. If you want to eat there, you'd better line up before dawn. People would rather wait in her endless queue than step foot into our restaurant. His sister rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. That's because you're useless. Not only can you not improve our business, but you can't even disrupt hers properly. Lei Du bristled but didn't retort. Instead, he asked cautiously, What do you suggest, then? She smirked darkly. Call Du Mao. This is a job for professionals. Lei Dadu's face paled. Du Mao? That's risky. Once you involve him, it's easier to summon a devil than send him back. Are you sure we want to go down that road? She shot him a withering look. Are you planning to sit here and watch as Su Ying crushes us? Du Mao only cares about money, and we have enough to pay him. Just get it done. Later that day, Lei Du stood nervously in front of a towering gate, sweat dripping down his back. He knocked hesitantly, and after a tense pause, the gate creaked open. A burly man with a menacing glare appeared, his voice low and gruff. What do you want? Swallowing hard, Lei Du replied, I'm here to see Du Mao. The man's eyes narrowed, but he stepped aside. Follow me. The yard beyond the gate was bustling with activity. Men with hardened faces trained in martial arts, their movements precise and deadly. As Lei Du was led deeper into the compound, he heard snippets of conversation. His friend from Yuzhou will be here in 2 days. We've got to take care of him, one man said. Another voice responded, I've got goods from the sea stashed away. I'll stay here until the heat dies down. Lei Dadu's guide finally stopped beneath a large tree where Du Mao sat, a man with fiery red hair and an intimidating aura. His eyes were sharp and calculating as he glanced at Lei Du. Lei Du, trembling slightly, presented a box filled with gold coins. This is a token of appreciation for some assistance. The gold glinted in the sunlight, drawing murmurs of approval from the onlookers. Du Mao's lips curled into a sly smile. What kind of help are you asking for? The next day, Du Mao's men arrived at Su Ying's bustling restaurant. Standing outside, they observed the lively atmosphere. "Her business really is booming," one of the men murmured. Another smirked. "Let's see what all the fuss is about. We'll eat first, then get to work." They entered the restaurant and ordered a feast, piling their table high with plates of food. After gorging themselves, one of the men boss stood up theatrically and tossed a rat into a pot of soup. "Aha!" he exclaimed loudly. "No wonder this soup tastes so good, it's rat meat." The commotion caught everyone's attention, and a hush fell over the restaurant as diners turned to look. Liao Jia stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "That's an old trick. You waited until you'd eaten your fill, then pulled the stunt? Do you think everyone here is blind?" Ba smirked. "I've had bad eyesight since childhood, but I'm pretty sure I already ate half the rat." Liao Jia gestured to the untouched rat in the pot. "It's still intact. Care to explain?" Ba laughed nervously but quickly escalated. "Are you calling me a liar? Let's see if you're brave enough to challenge me." Before he could continue, Liao Jia's sharp voice cut through the tension. "Close the doors." Around the room, patrons stood and armed themselves, revealing weapons hidden beneath their clothes. Ba and his companions broke into a cold sweat. Now, Ba stammered, bowing repeatedly. "No need for violence. We were just joking. If you want to beat us, go ahead. But if we survive, you'll have to compensate us for every bruise." Liao Jia's companion, Liao Yi, cracked his knuckles menacingly. "What should we do with them, Miss Su?" Su Ying, her expression calm but firm, shook her head. "We've just reopened. Let's not harm our guests, even if they're troublemakers." Ba seized the opportunity to retreat, shouting over his shoulder. "You've got 3 days to close this place down and leave Luo City or else." At the same time, Lei Du was gloating about his plan. "Their door is blocked by a manure cart. Let's see how they do business now." But his smugness was short-lived. A few days later, the culprits behind the cart were caught and beaten soundly. Zhao Dai told Su Ying, "It's true what they say, great thieves always work with the small ones. Let's confront them directly." Back in Toad Village, Liao Jia reported the situation to Cheng Daolei. Du Mao's men threatened to destroy Su Ying's restaurant if it's not closed within 3 days. Liao Yi chimed in, "We're not afraid of Du Mao, but we're worried his interference will ruin your business plans for Luo City." Zhu Shunji added gravely, "You may not know Du Mao's reputation, boss. He's not an ordinary thug. He once got drunk and killed a tiger with his bare hands. He's got a dozen skilled fighters under him who train daily. No one in Luo City, not even the government, dares to touch him." Cheng Daolei chuckled. "Killed a tiger with his bare hands? No wonder he's called Du Mao. Sounds like a lazy bug with too much time on his hands." Shinji nodded. "People respect him because he's ruthless, and merchants rely on him for protection. If you're serious about dealing with him, you'll need a plan." Cheng Daolei's eyes gleamed. "Oh, I've got a plan. Let's see how Du Mao likes it when we play by my rules." Lu Zhai cradled a cup of wine in her hands, savoring the delicate fragrance as it wafted up. Cheng Daol glanced at her, then shifted his attention back to Zhu Shinji. "If Du Mao is so powerful, can't we appeal to his heart?" he asked, half hopeful and half resigned. Zhu Shinji waved off his concern with an air of confidence. "Don't trouble yourself. This matter isn't nearly as complicated as you think." Meanwhile, Lu Jihan, who had been sneaking sips of the freshly brewed wine, hiccuped after a particularly strong gulp and promptly dozed off, leaving Cheng Daol wondering why she couldn't keep away from the wine in the first place. Later that day, Zhu Shinji arrived at Tiger Village to seek assistance from Gao Fei, who, "We're in a bit of a bind with Du Mao," Zhu Shinji explained. Gao Fei, who nodded thoughtfully. "Cheng Daol brought glory to Qinyo Mountain when he robbed Lu Heng. I owe him. My second brother will go with you and see to it." The next morning, at the gates of Loi City, Qin Man turned to Gao Fei, whose brother. "Do you think your connection with Du Mao will be enough?" The second brother chuckled, his confidence apparent. "I don't even need to be here. A simple message would suffice." As they approached Du Mao's men, Gao Fei Bao announced their arrival. "Tell your boss, Gao Fei Bao is here to see him." One of the guards smirked. "Boss is resting. You'll have to wait." Another noticed Gao Fei Bao and couldn't resist a taunt. "You here for flower wine? Better watch out, or your head might be worth 120 silver soon." Gao Fei Bao ignored the jab and pressed on. Enough chatter. Where's Du Mao? We have business to discuss. The guards eyed Zhu Xinji and Qin Man suspiciously. You don't look familiar. New to the Fei Hu gang. Gao Fei Bao interjected. These are friends from Toad Village. That's Zhu Xinji, the Jade Face scholar. Heard of him? Recognition lit up their faces. Oh, that Zhu Xinji. Word is, he masterminded Toad Village's recent victories. As Zhu Xinji deflected their probing comments with thinly veiled threats, tension crackled in the air. One of Du Mao's men laughed nervously. So, what's your concern? Spit it out. Zhu Xinji leaned forward, his tone razor-sharp. My only concern? Too few of you to make this interesting. When they finally met Du Mao, the red-haired man lounged beneath a tree, exuding an aura of authority. Qin Man presented a Buddha statue as a gesture of goodwill. Du Mao scoffed. Buddha? I don't pray or burn incense. Why would I need this? He waved them off dismissively. Dogs and tigers walk different paths. I'm no friend of Toad Village. Gao Fei Bao bristled, but Zhu Xinji stepped in, his voice calm yet cutting. Paths may differ, but rivers and mountains cross. We'll see who's the dog and who's the tiger when the time comes. Du Mao laughed mockingly and hurled a massive metal object toward them. Qin Man caught it but staggered under the weight. Take it back, Zhu Xinji said coldly. Qin Man flung it back, and Du Mao caught it with ease, smirking as he wished them a safe trip. As they left, Gao Fei Bao fumed. He's insufferable, acting like a king. Zhu Xinji shrugged, his tone measured. The man has skill, I'll give him that. But his arrogance? That's another story. Back at Toad Village, Chang Dao listened as Qin Man described Du Mao's strength. He's not weaker than me, Qin Man admitted. Zhu Xinji recounted their encounter. Du Mao doesn't respect us. He called you a dog and himself a tiger. Chang Dao's eyes narrowed. If he's so annoying, we'll deal with him directly. Huang Sanyuan cautioned him. Our strength isn't enough to face him head-on. We should bide our time. Chang Dao, undeterred, smirked. Fine, let's get ready. I'll deal with this myself. Meanwhile, back at Tiger Village, Gao Fei Bao vented to Gao Fei Hu. Du Mao treated us like trash. He's not the same as before. Gao Fei Hu silenced him. Enough whining. The problem isn't Du Mao. It's the growing reputation of Toad Village. That's what's got him riled up. Gao Fei Hu turned to Gao Fei Bao, asking for his thoughts on Toad Village. Gao Fei Bao, ever the realist, predicted that with Chang Dao's fiery temperament, a clash with Du Mao was inevitable. Gao Fei Hu chuckled and wondered aloud how Chang Dao planned to fight Du Mao, knowing how skilled and fearsome the man was. One of the men suggested that this might be an excellent opportunity to let Du Mao handle Toad Village for them. If Toad Village lost, it would give them a clear path for future actions. Back at Toad Village, Qin Man hesitated. Are you sure you want to go to Loi City with me? The risk isn't small. Chang Dao waved him off. It's not convenient for me to show my face there again. Those wanted posters of mine are still hanging at the city gates. Qin Man nodded grimly. So, what's the plan? Chang Dao grinned, a spark of mischief lighting his eyes. Simple. I'll send people without bounties who know how to handle themselves. But we'll need to think of a creative way to infiltrate the city. Moments later, Chang Dao summoned a group of carpenters. The plan he unveiled left his lackeys speechless. Someone muttered, Our Toad Village is heading for disaster with ideas like this. Ignoring the muttering, Chang Dao turned to Zhu Xinji. What's wrong with breaking feudal superstitions, huh? Soon, a carriage approached the gates of Loi City, its occupants met by a pair of suspicious guards. What business do you have here? One of them demanded. The driver spoke somberly. Our grandfather passed away outside the city. We're bringing his body back to bury his bones. The guard narrowed his eyes. With all these bandits roaming about, how do we know you're not bandits in disguise? Open the coffin. Huang Sanyuan stepped forward with a bribe, speaking respectfully. Please, don't disturb the dead. Here's something to compensate for your trouble. The guards accepted the bribe and waved them in, muttering about how it wasn't worth offending spirits. The carriage pulled up at Su Ying's door. Bring the coffin inside, Huang Sanyuan instructed, and don't let anyone see it. The coffin was barely through the doorway when it began to shake ominously. Su Ying and Zhao Dai froze as a hand emerged, making them cling to each other in fright. The lid flew off, and Chung Daol emerged, brushing off dust and sweat. "It's been a while, hasn't it, Su Ying?" he greeted casually. Su Ying blinked, bewildered. "Why on earth are you here? And in a coffin, no less." Chung Daol shrugged. "If you're in trouble, how could I not come? Even if it's dangerous, I'm here." Su Ying frowned, her tone serious. "You know, sleeping in a coffin brings bad luck." Chung Daol ignored her. "Don't put the coffin in the courtyard, it really does bring misfortune. And bring out the wine I prepared." Blushing, Su Ying glanced at him, unsure how to voice her concerns about Lu Jihan and the cryptic notes he had sent. Her heart raced despite herself, leaving her flustered. Trying to refocus, she complained about how her restaurant had been blocked by a manure cart. "I couldn't do anything about it," she admitted. "But when the time comes, I'll settle all my debts with interest." She turned back to Chung Daol. "And with the few men you brought, do you really think you can take on Du Mao?" Chung Daol smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, I've already got a plan." At Du Mao's residence, a raucous party was underway. Du Mao drained a jar of wine, much to the amazement of his men. "The more he drinks, the stronger he gets," one man boasted. "2 bowls and his strength doubles. When he's fully drunk, he's unstoppable." Outside, a merchant, none other than Huang Sanyuan, hawked his wine. A customer grumbled about the high price. Huang Sanyuan defended his terms, explaining that those who couldn't drink 10 bowls in a row didn't have to pay. The grumbling escalated until Bao, one of Du Mao's trusted men, intervened. "If you're an honorable man, prove it by drinking 10 bowls yourself," Bao challenged the customer. When the man countered, Bao turned the tables. "I'll show you how a real man drinks. Follow me to Du Mao's residence." Inside the residence, Bao presented Huang Sanyuan and his wine. Du Mao raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Why'd you bring him here? You should have dealt with this nonsense on your own." Bao grinned sheepishly, unsure how to respond. Meanwhile, Chung Daol's plan unfolded, the pieces falling into place for his next move against Du Mao. Bao excitedly introduced Huang Sanyuan as a wine merchant with a unique deal. "Drink 10 bowls of his wine in a row, and it's free. If not, pay up." Du Mao smirked at the audacity. "What kind of wine makes people overconfident?" he asked, intrigued. One of Du Mao's men scoffed at Bao, reminding him of his limited drinking capacity. Bao fired back, insisting that Huang Sanyuan's wine was something special, and Du Mao had to try it. Curious, one of the men grabbed a bowl, downed it, and declared it unimpressive before demanding another bowl to prove his point. As the man chugged his second bowl, the strength of the wine betrayed him. He fell to the ground, passed out, becoming the butt of jokes among his companions. One by one, Du Mao's men attempted to conquer the mysterious wine, only to meet similar fates, much to Huang Sanyuan's amusement. Seeing his men falter, Du Mao's pride flared. "Fill me a bowl," he ordered, his confidence unwavering. Huang Sanyuan obliged, politely warning that his wine was potent. Du Mao dismissed the caution, downed the bowl, and immediately felt its fiery strength. Impressed, he demanded another, despite the sweat now glistening on his brow. Bao cheered Du Mao on, boasting that his leader could drink 1,000 bowls without falling. But as Du Mao chugged his second and third bowls, even he couldn't hide the strain. He coughed and hesitated, prompting Huang Sanyuan to kindly suggest that he stop. This only fueled Du Mao's stubbornness. "Fill it up," he roared. By the 5th bowl, Du Mao's bravado cracked. His eyes widened in realization. This wasn't ordinary wine. He slammed the bowl down, and in a drunken haze, ordered his men to attack Huang Sanyuan, furious at the humiliation. But before his men could act, Chung Daolei and the Toad Village crew stormed in. "This is business," Chung Daolei declared. "Anyone who dares mess with us won't leave standing." Chaos erupted. Du Mao slapped aside one of Chung Daolei's lackeys and charged into the fray. Lin Xiaoyu leaped forward, spear in hand, but Du Mao, drunk yet formidable, grabbed the spear and hurled Lin Xiaoyu backward with a devastating punch. The Toad Village fighters hesitated, intimidated by Du Mao's drunken strength. As the battle raged, Huang Sanyuan called out to Chung Daolei in desperation. Calmly, Chung Daolei stepped forward, seemingly unfazed by the chaos. "Drunken tiger, is it?" he quipped. Bao, tied up nearby, begged to be released, claiming he could calm Du Mao down. Chung Daolei silenced him by smashing a jar over his head, knocking him unconscious. "I'll handle this myself," he assured Huang Sanyuan. Du Mao turned to face Chung Daolei, mocking him. "You? Come closer so I can smash your face in." Chung Daolei clapped his hands sharply, a strange sound reverberating through the room. Du Mao froze momentarily, bewildered by the noise. Taking advantage of the distraction, Chung Daolei dodged Du Mao's wild punches with ease, countering with a precise strike to his face. Du Mao stumbled, collapsing to the ground as Huang Sanyuan and the others watched in stunned silence. Did he just beat Du Mao in one move? Someone muttered in disbelief. Cheers erupted as the Toad Village crew celebrated Chung Daolei's victory. Later, Du Mao woke up in a dimly lit room, disoriented and furious. "Who's out there? Show yourselves or I'll kill you all," he bellowed. Chung Daolei stepped forward, grinning. "Still drunk, are we? Pleasure to meet you, Du Mao." Enraged, Du Mao challenged him again, but Chung Daolei waved him off. "Relax. I didn't come to play hero. I came to talk business." "Business?" Du Mao spat. "Yes," Chung Daolei said. "Join the Toad Village." Du Mao stared at him before bursting into laughter, a sound both amused and mocking. "You've got guts, I'll give you that. But if you want me, prove yourself worthy next time." Chung Daolei laughed along, though his mind raced. He realized Du Mao wasn't someone easily swayed by words or tricks. Recruiting him would be a long game. Meanwhile, rumors spread throughout the city, each tale more exaggerated than the last. Some claimed Chung Daolei had struck Du Mao with a single palm, leaving him half dead. The legend of the Toad Village grew, and Chung Daolei's reputation as a cunning and unpredictable leader solidified further. Suing mulled over the aftermath of Du Mao's fall, believing that his defeat by the Toad Village would expand their influence over Fallen Leaf City. Without Du Mao's oppressive shadow, his gang would crumble. At a tea house nearby, a man poured himself a cup, relieved. Du Mao was a bully for years, and someone finally put him in his place, he said. But that Chung Daolei, he's even scarier than Du Mao. His drinking companion agreed with a sigh. If only all these gangs would just kill each other off. Life's hard enough for the rest of us. Their third companion, however, veered into less savory territory, wondering aloud what Suing looked like under her black veil. Her body's great, so her face must be too. The first man smacked the back of his head. You got a death wish? Do you even know who's running Su Ying's restaurant? Who? The man asked, rubbing his head. Chung Daolei, came the whispered reply. The system, ever smug, praised Chung Daolei for orchestrating the spread of his reputation through tea houses and alley gossip. You're famous now, it declared. Meanwhile, at the Sahilu restaurant, Laidata sat brooding over their empty tables. His little sister was less patient. If Suing is so great at business, why not steal her recipes? She snapped. Easy for you to say, Laidata shot back. Her business is all about those chili peppers. We don't even know where to find them. The little sister leaned back, scheming. Forget recipes. Take her down and we'll take her family's property. That's where the real money is. Just then, Mr. Zhang entered with a friend from Qingzhou. Laidata scrambled to greet him, offering their specialty fish stew. Mr. Zhang waved him off, saying they'd already reserved a table at Su Ying's restaurant. They were just using his place to rest while waiting. Laidatu's smile froze, his indignity palpable. Across the street at Su Ying's restaurant, Zhao Dai informed her that Mr. Zhang and his Qingzhou companion wanted to buy a bulk order of chili peppers. Su Ying, ever cautious, explained she'd have to consult her supplier. Promising to contact them later, she accepted their deposit. At the Toad Village prison, Du Mao lay sprawled on a haystack, shouting for wine and threatening violence if it was late. Gao Fei Bao appeared, trying to reason with him. Chung Daolei isn't budging, but maybe Gao Fei who can talk him into letting you go. Insult me again, and I'll break your teeth, Du Mao snarled. Later, Chung Daolei mused on Gao Fei Bao's question about how he had bested Du Mao. Read more books, drink less cold water, and take baths, he quipped, summoning Lu Jihan for a basin of water. As he washed his face, he muttered something about cleanliness changing fate. Lu Jihan, unimpressed, excused herself, saying she was off to bed. Calling on the system, Chung Daolei decided it was time for another draw. 20,000 fear points, let's do this, he said. The system explained the mechanics, touting its beginner's platform and probabilities. Chung Daolei rolled his eyes. You're like one of those rigged gambling games, he muttered, steeling himself for disappointment. With dramatic flair, the system summoned Zhang, a bad brewer. A bad winemaker? Chung Daolei groaned. Seriously. Zhang stood awkwardly, looking every bit the burden. Not one to give up easily, Chung Daolei decided to spend another 10,000 points. The system summoned Guan Yu, a normal military general. Normal, Chung Daolei sighed. Lower your expectations, increase your happiness, I guess. Later, Chung Daolei sat on a rock, chewing on bread and pondering his choices. At least the bread didn't disappoint. Chung Daolei sat tapping his fingers impatiently, wondering why his recruits were taking so long to arrive. Finally, Zhang and the others appeared at the entrance of Toad Village. Squinting, Chung Daolei noticed something odd. There were 3 of them instead of the expected 2. Why are there 3? He muttered. Guan Yu, one of the newcomers, broke the silence. Is this Toad Village? Liu Bei, the 3rd man, sighed dramatically. Chung Daolei wasn't surprised by Zhang and Guan Yu's arrival, but Liu Bei's presence threw him off. Was this the work of the recruitment banner's activation? He mused, piecing together the trio's names. A sudden realization struck him like lightning. These 3 shared the names of the legendary Peach Garden sworn brothers, Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei. However, their appearance didn't exactly scream heroic legends. Liu Bei stepped forward and bowed. We've come in admiration of your reputation and hope to join Toad Village. Chung Daolei, ever skeptical, introduced himself as the master of the village and asked who they were. Liu Bei introduced his brothers, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, and shared the story of their bond forged in the Peach Garden. Chung Daolei raised an eyebrow. When you all stand together, I guess there's a slight resemblance. The system chimed in to confirm their story, rattling off details about their legendary ancestors. Chung Daolei wondered if these 3 men were somehow related to the mythic brothers or just shared their names. Where are you from? He asked. Fanyong County, replied Guan Yu. Chung Daolei's curiosity piqued. Do you know a man named Zhang Yida? The trio looked baffled, exchanging puzzled glances. Brushing aside their confusion, Chung Daolei asked why they wanted to stay in Toad Village. Guan Yu explained that they were fugitives after killing an evil landlord. They had heard of Chung Daolei's reputation and sought refuge under his leadership. Chung Daolei smirked. So, which one of you killed the landlord? Guan Yu pointed to Liu Bei, who responded nonchalantly, It wasn't worth mentioning. Chung Daolei's internal monologue exploded. Liu Bei? The killer? Really? Zhang Fei chimed in, suddenly recalling that the Zhang Yida Chung Daolei mentioned was their great-great-grandfather. Intrigued, Chung Daolei pressed them for details about their ancestors. After some fumbling, Liu Bei recounted a story of idealistic forebears who dreamed of sweeping away rebellion and restoring the Han dynasty. However, their ambitions fizzled, leaving them to retire as humble merchants, a pork seller, a green bean vendor, and a straw sandal craftsman. Who would have thought that the crazy old man shouting about being Emperor Liu Bei was your ancestor? Chung Daolei muttered to himself, suppressing a chuckle. He sighed, waving off the trio's attempts at formality. You'll stay in Toad Village, call each other buddies, and save the theatrics for someone else, he instructed, walking away. Then he turned back. By the way, do you know anyone named Zhu Ji? The trio looked just as confused as before, but their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a letter from Su Ying. Chung Daolei read it with interest, learning that someone wanted to purchase chili peppers. Business is picking up, he thought, realizing the village had 30,000 pounds of peppers ready for harvest. He asked Liu Jihan to draft a polite response, granting Su Ying the freedom to set her prices and ensuring her a steady supply of peppers. Meanwhile, Liu Bei was busy seeing patients. A man approached him, anxiously asking, Is my illness serious? Liu Bei stared at him solemnly. Life and death are decreed by fate. It's not worth worrying about. Frustrated, the man demanded a solution. Liu Bei finally admitted, You just have a cold. Is it a bad cold? The man pressed. It's a normal cold. Liu Bei reassured him with a monotone voice, leaving the man speechless. Watching this interaction from afar, Chung Daol shook his head. This guy's such a pessimist. If he keeps this up, it'll be bad for morale. Confronting Liu Bei later, Chung Daol asked, "Would you mind stepping down as the village doctor?" Liu Bei didn't miss a beat. Sooner or later, everyone dies. Doctor or no doctor, the result is the same. Chung Daol sighed deeply. What did I get myself into? He muttered under his breath. Chung Daolei pondered Liu Bei's philosophical take on fame and fortune, wondering aloud why anyone would chase after such fleeting ambitions when, in less than a century, all that remained of people were bones in forgotten graves. While Liu Bei's nihilistic reasoning left him baffled, Chung Daolei couldn't shake his belief that the fight for fame and fortune was still wildly entertaining and absolutely necessary. This guy's communication skills are impeccable, Chung Daolei thought, but he also made a mental note to limit his contact with Liu Bei. Associating with someone so gloomily persuasive might compromise his own young hero ambitions. Seeking a solution for his current predicament, Chung Daolei turned to Liu Bei. I need your help with something tricky, he said. Liu Bei, ever calm, replied. Since I've joined your village, my life is yours. Speak your request. Chung Daolei led him to Du Mao's prison. As they approached, the sound of clattering footsteps caught Du Mao's attention. He perked up and growled. What now? Have you brought wine? Or do I need to knock some sense into you? Liu Bei sighed, his usual grim expression darkening further. Not worth it, he muttered. His words so solemn they sent a shiver down Du Mao's spine. For a man as hardened as Du Mao, Liu Bei's demeanor was oddly unnerving. Come closer, Liu Bei said, sitting down with an almost eerie calmness. Du Mao, sweating, barked, Get out. I'm not interested in your lectures. Meanwhile, at the gate of Toad Village, a commotion was stirring. White Wolf noticed a crowd gathering around a poster. One man read aloud, "A kilo of peppers for a kilo of grain." Turning to his friend, he asked, "How many peppers did your village plant?" The friend admitted, "Not a single one." Another chimed in, "The yield of an acre of peppers could be 10 times that of grain. Do you think this is real?" The crowd turned to White Wolf, curious. "Your village planted peppers, right?" One man asked eagerly. Another speculated that the pepper trade would make them all rich and ensure a worry-free winter. Annoyed, White Wolf silenced them by pointing a knife at one man's throat. "Shut up," she snapped. "Another word, and I'll cut your head off." Storming toward the village, White Wolf muttered under her breath. If Chung Daolei lied to me, he'd better prepare for his funeral. Inside the village, Zhu Linger was busy cooking peppers, filling the air with their sharp aroma. Zhu Xinji spotted White Wolf and greeted her, teasingly adding, "Haven't seen you in a while. Here to settle a romantic score with Chung Daolei." White Wolf ignored the quip and demanded to see Chung Daolei. Zhu Xinji assumed she wanted to confess her feelings. After all, why else would a woman come seeking a man in such a fiery mood? "He's in the back," he told her, grinning. When White Wolf finally confronted Chung Daolei, her tone was sharp. "Have you forgotten what you promised me?" Chung Daolei froze, beads of sweat forming. "What promise?" he asked nervously, glancing at Lu Zhihan, who also looked alarmed. White Wolf launched into a tirade about the pepper fields, accusing him of misleading her village with exaggerated yields. Chung Daolei blushed, assuring her that their arrangement remained intact. 1 pound of peppers for 1 pound of grain, wheat, or soy. He even offered to roast the peppers for her to maximize their value. White Wolf, momentarily disarmed by his negotiable demeanor, blushed as well. She mumbled something about not expecting him to be so reasonable and abruptly turned to leave. Chung Daolei watched her retreat, scratching his head. She must have a thing for me, he thought. Logical, given our village's newfound wealth and power. Trying to prolong their interaction, Chung Daolei invited her to hear a poem he'd written. White Wolf turned and bolted, leaving him speechless. Maybe she's not into poetry, he mused. I'll try another topic next time. Outside the village, the men who had gathered earlier bombarded White Wolf with questions. Did Chung Daolei agree to the deal? One asked. Ignoring them, White Wolf dashed past, her thoughts consumed with relief. No more hunger this winter, she thought. As days passed, more villages that had planted peppers came to negotiate deals with Chung Dao Lei. While some accused him of trickery, they left the mountain grudgingly appeased, only to begin roasting peppers themselves. Meanwhile, Su Ying had secured a deal to sell peppers by the bucket, exchanging them for valuable grain. Business was booming. Back at the prison, Liu Bei worked tirelessly to wear down Du Mao's spirit. Quite effective, Liu Bei noted to himself as Du Mao broke down in sobs, muttering that he wanted to die. Elsewhere in the village, the construction of a new medical center was completed with Su Ying's help. The system rewarded Chung Dao Lei with a rare medical book containing the Kyanjin formula, a creation of the legendary king of medicine. Chung Dao Lei considered it a fitting gift for Liu Bei and pondered how to harness the potential of Liu, Guan, and Zhang's descendants, who seemed to possess legendary attributes. On another part of the mountain, red smoke blanketed the peaks. Gao Fei, who watched the scene from above, his expression grim. Gao Fei Bao rushed toward him, breathless, asking, "Have you heard the news?" Gao Fei Bao was already aware of the situation and, shaking his head, muttered that he never expected the Toad village to pull off something so outrageous. Turning to Gao Fei, he asked, "Do you really think it's true? A hectare of peppers yielding 10 times as much as other crops?" Gao Fei, who remained skeptical. "Hard to say," he replied, "but it's hard to believe. Still, we can't dismiss it just yet." Fei Bao suggested that he check it out for himself, claiming that if it were true, they wouldn't need to do anything drastic. "But if it's fake," Fei Bao said, smirking, "we'll teach that Toad village a lesson." Gao Fei, who, clearly annoyed, waved him off. "Go ahead, but don't say I didn't warn you. You're the one who insisted on planting despite my advice. This is on you." Moments later, a commotion brewed at the entrance of Toad village. A fast-approaching carriage kicked up a cloud of dust, and villagers began whispering among themselves. "Isn't that Gao Fei Bao? What's Tiger Village doing here? Didn't he tell everyone not to plant peppers?" The accusations started flying as Fei Bao dismounted. "Weren't you the one who told us not to plant peppers? Now you're hauling a cartload of them," one villager shouted. Fei Bao shot back, "I'm just here to prove whether their promises are true. If they don't honor their deal and exchange peppers for grain, we'll expose their scam." The gathered crowd grew curious, some even praising Fei Bao for taking initiative. Encouraging the villagers to join him, Fei Bao declared, "Let's all go up the mountain and see what Chung Dao Lei has to say." The crowd eagerly followed. As the group neared, Huang Sanyuan spotted the mob and turned to Chung Dao Lei. "Are they here to cause trouble? Should we call for reinforcements?" Chung Dao Lei remained calm. "Relax," he said. "Let's see what they want first." When Gao Fei Bao arrived, he demanded that the Toad village honor their agreement. Huang Sanyuan inspected the bag of peppers and remarked, "You forgot to roast them first." Fei Bao bristled. "Do you expect me to roast them right now?" Chung Dao Lei intervened, gesturing toward Huang Sanyuan. "Don't let his trip be wasted. We'll roast the peppers ourselves," he said with a grin. Sanyuan agreed, instructing his men to unload the peppers and load grain onto Fei Bao's cart. Stunned by the swift compliance, Fei Bao stammered, "You're actually going to give us grain?" Huang Sanyuan smirked. "We said we would." Any issues? Fei Bao had none. Soon, bags of grain replaced the peppers on his cart, and the onlookers' jaws dropped. "Unbelievable," one villager exclaimed. "This guy told us not to plant peppers, but look who's profiting now." Fei Bao retorted, "This is an honor granted by Chung Dao Lei. Besides, we only planted a few peppers, not enough for everyone to benefit." Days later, White Wolf and her entourage arrived with a caravan of peppers, causing yet another stir among the villagers. "White Wolf is here," someone shouted. As the peppers were unloaded, her subordinates marveled at Chung Dao Lei. "He's so handsome," one whispered, giggling. Another chimed in, "Why hasn't he visited our village? People would line up to see him." Chung Dao Lei, flattered, flirted shamelessly with the women, much to White Wolf's irritation. "Enough!" she barked, sending her subordinates away. Turning to Chung Dao Lei, she made an unusual request. "Can I leave the grain here for safekeeping? I'm worried I won't be able to defend it in my village." Chung Dao Lei considered her request before agreeing. Fine, take what you need for now, and I'll mark the rest for you to pick up later. White Wolf thanked him, blushing slightly as she left. Watching her retreat, Chung Dao Lei couldn't resist a smug thought. They always come back for me. Back at Tiger Village, Gao Fei Bao returned to report to Gao Fei Hu. Dumping a sack of grain on the ground, he exclaimed, "See? It's real." Gao Fei Hu, shocked, inspected the grain and muttered, "I didn't think Chung Dao Lei would actually follow through. This changes everything." Before they could celebrate, an angry mob arrived at the gates, shouting accusations. "You told us not to plant peppers, and now you're hoarding grain for yourself." Furious, Gao Fei Hu shouted back, "Do you want to die, storming my village like this?" Fei Bao calmed his brother, saying, "We can't fight them all. Let's figure this out before things escalate." But even as night fell, the villagers' complaints continued, and the Gao brothers were left stewing in frustration. Meanwhile, Chung Dao Lei finalized a lucrative deal with the merchant from Qingzhou, exchanging 1 pound of peppers for 10 pounds of grain. Caravans of grain began arriving at Toad Village, attracting spies from nearby villages. Rumors spread that the Toad Village now had a stockpile of 500,000 pounds of grain. As Suing wrote to Chung Dao Lei about her restaurant's growing success and plans for expansion, it became clear that the Toad Village's influence was spreading like wildfire. And as the village thrived, so too did Chung Dao Lei's reputation as a cunning and ambitious leader. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment Flamingo and subscribe for future parts.